You've been following this TCU situation closely, as have I, Austin. I know that you have too. And I just look at what's happening for TCU, and I can't help myself but make parallels to Nebraska this year. Obviously, it's very different. TCU has the benefit of being in Texas. Sometimes you kind of get the guys that are forgotten from the Texas, the Baylor, come on over to TCU. Nebraska doesn't really have the benefit of that, but first-year head coach, there were a few seasons before they made this big jump. You weren't meeting expectations. Your coach gets pushed out, and they find themselves now in the national championship. Now, I want to pump the brakes a little bit and say that I don't think Nebraska is going to go to the national championship. I mean, maybe. Who knows? They possibly could. But I just look at this, and we always talk about so much this 8-year rebuild just because it's an 8-year contract. And I just can't help myself but think, I don't think that's Matt Rule's expectation. I don't think it's the program's expectation. I don't think it's Trev's expectation. There's no reason that TCU playing in the Big 12, which you could make an argument was the best conference in football this year, goes from a 5-win football team to the national championship. And Nebraska playing in the Big 10 West can't go and win 6 games and make a bowl game. It just blows my mind. And I know that we're going to give everyone the benefit of the doubt. It is his first year. There's a lot of turnover. But I just look at the schedule. I look at what's happening in college football. You can throw Tulane into that mix. Right. Tulane went from 2 wins to 12 in 1 season. Tulane beat USC in the Cotton Bowl. Like, I don't know about you, Jay, but I don't think this is an 8-year rebuild. I think next year you have to have expectations of making a bowl game.
Yeah, without a doubt. I mean, I don't think Matt Rule is thinking it's going to take 8 years to be successful. And I highly doubt it. He said that or articulated that when he was in the interview process. Now, getting to an 8-year contract is probably, you got to probably do that to get him here, and
there's stability there.
And, wants to win, more than maybe initially in the first 2 or 3 years. And so, I think Nebraska always should have the expectations to win, 7 to 10 games, or more. Period. And that's the way it always should be. I don't care if it's your first year or last year. That's the way it should be. So, Nebraska has got a tremendous opportunity with the schedule and the timing of everything in college football to really get back to relevancy rather quickly. Pretty soon there's not going to be any divisions. Now, that could work out well for Nebraska or not so well. But you're going to get to play maybe Maryland a little bit more and get some, maybe Rutgers, even though Rutgers seems like they're on the uptick, but you're going to maybe get to play against some teams that are a little bit more a layup combined with the teams that are presently in the Big Ten West. So where you can, I wouldn't say backdoor your way into like an 8-9 win season, but get the 8-9 win season regardless. And so, and then to think about it, if you have a really good year and the Big Ten is really good, possibly with the 12-team playoff, you could get 3 in there from the Big Ten. Just it kind of depends on the year. And if Nebraska has any signs of life as a football program in being close to the Big Ten championship, they'll end up in a 12-team playoff just because it's been so long, and it'd be a huge story. So I think it is. I think Nebraska, I don't know really what's going on down there, but I listened earlier with Steve Taylor. He couldn't get in like that. You can't, that doesn't have anything directly to do on the football field, but it's indirectly.
Right. It's a problem.
Yeah. Well, he's All-American. I know. He has his mug in there somewhere, because I don't know if he was a captain. I'm sure he was a captain, but I know he's All-American, so he has his own special little area. They have the oil painting of Steve Taylor in there. He don't need an appointment, man. Matter of fact, nobody does. And so, I don't know, and that maybe changed a little bit, but I think that that needs to be said. But I think when you look at I'm looking at their schedule right now. Pick them against Minnesota. They need a new they're going to have a new quarterback, right? They're losing some guys. I think one of their starting tackles is declared early for the draft. They have one of the best centers in the draft, so that's going to affect their run game. Mo's gone. Their running back, actually their backup running back that was supposed to be the next guy in line, transferred a year early. He's in the transfer portal again. We'll see if he ends up back in Minneapolis again. Then you got the same team, same situation at Colorado. Even though both of them are on the road, both teams are no different than you. Minnesota may be a little bit farther along because PJ Fleck is obviously recruiting classes and culture years ahead of Matt Rule. But it's not a total going up a flat mountain, and trying to find a way to get some traction. Northern Illinois, Northern Illinois, goes without saying, should be a W. Same with Louisiana Tech. Then you go to Michigan. I'd like to think, especially if Harbaugh's gone, that's even a more winnable game. But I'd like to think the motivation to not get embarrassed like we did last year on TV, that game can go down the wire. Just 2 seasons ago or prior, we essentially gave that game away. At Illinois, again, another team that's replacing a lot of bell cow players. Both the Browns are gone. Brown brothers are gone. Their corner, that's an All-American first-round pick, is gone. So a lot of their identity is gone. You know what I mean?
Purdue lost their coach.
Right. And then Northwestern to go now granted, their only victory was the first one against
Nebraska.
But when you lose 11 in a row, it's hard to bounce back, especially Northwestern. That should be a W. Illinois, that should be a W. So at the worst case scenario, you're 4-3. That's the worst. That's if you lose to Minnesota and Colorado. Actually, you should be 5-2. Period. So you're 5-2. Then you got Purdue up. We should beat them at home, at the crib, right? Then you go at Michigan.
They're losing their quarterback and their coach.
So now we're 6-2.
Bowl game.
You're already there. So now you're playing with house money. This is when we can be ultra aggressive.
Mm-hmm.
Michigan State, my man Mel Tucker, the Lion. They're losing the quarterback and their receiver. W. Let me get that. Maryland. The defense should be rolling. And the matter of fact, this 3-3-5 is tailor-made for the Maryland type of offense. W again. 8 wins. Now you got at Wisconsin. Now I will go to Wisconsin and drink a lot of Spotted Cow and all their bratwursts, which are very good, Nate. You should be coming back for that.
Spotted Cow is awesome. I'll come back for that.
The Fighting Luke Fickles. He's a good coach. They don't have a quarterback. They do have a running back.
Switching offenses.
Switching off. Let's just say to give them Wisconsin the dub. Let's just give them the dub. Just because it's at home. They're going to be jumping around. Probably be a night game.
Jump around is lit. I'll give them that.
And you would be right up in there doing it too.
Yeah, I would. You're right.
I'm too old to do that. You know what I mean? You just see me sprain my
ankle. Yeah, I was going to say blow out your knee if you do that.
And then Iowa at the crib. We're going for 2 in a row. That's definitely a dub. That's not 8, 7, 8, 9
Iowa's
wins.
A mess.
So what did I call
McNamara,
it? 1,
come on.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6, at least 7, 8 wins. And that's not even counting the Illinois one. So it should be 8 wins right there.
It should be. We know Nebraska
it has
football.
To be.
So 2 things. First of all, say Nebraska gets to 6-2, like you laid out. Do you trust that team to get more, like we talked about last segment, with handling success?
Well, I'm assuming that's what we brought Matt Rule. Matt Rule he's been in this situation before, where
sure.
you've taken over programs that haven't, on the downswing. Now, granted, I think taking over Temple and then taking over Baylor are 2 different things. And oddly enough, I was on a national show and I was trying to tell him taking over Baylor was easy. The hard part was accepting the job. Getting them to win was easy. Now, I'm saying it all relative. Right? Waco, if you ever been to Waco, don't go. All right? It's not. I remember we played Baylor and I was like, this place is horrible. Like I want to kick these dudes' butts and let's leave. If we could leave, if we could have a plane leaving at halftime for the starters, we're ready to go. And here's why I think Baylor was a little bit easier, right? Accepting the job was harder because of what you had.
They're going through a lot at the time.
So essentially, sometimes you would be associated with that. So a lot of the work was out literally just cleaning out a lot of the bad apples and resetting the table of, I saw a player talking about, I guess it's the receiver that's coming in, hat, you can't wear hats and all that. See, that ain't going to fly here, dude. You have to do that at Baylor. Just like what PJ Fleck had to deal with taking over the Minnesota program with notoriously a toxic athletic department. A lot of stuff was going on up there, not to the magnitude of Baylor, but there was a lot of
some stuff.
There was a lot of sexual assault stuff going on there. Matter of fact, Antoine Winfield had to pull his son out of there because he was falsely accused. And then he came back and then it all worked itself out, but there was on a national level. So that's what you have to do, at that situation. So getting them in line just to be accountable is different. And then they you just got a ton of athletes. And then he came in and got them to work. And the next thing you saw a distinct difference from year 1 to year 2, because the year 1 guys that he either had to deal with in the year 1 or really push them to the point that you knew you weren't really in it to win it, that's your first year. I think Nebraska, you'll have guys because of what Mickey Joseph, Bill Bush, and the staff that was here before laid some foundation for you. So now you're more ready-made and turnkey. Now you just add on to it and keep building. So you should be a year or two ahead of.
And you have some key players coming back too.
Yeah.
Anthony Grant, AJ Allen,
Right. Washington. You got 2 quarterbacks.
If the linebackers are healthy.
Yeah.
Linebackers coming back. Yeah. Secondary is coming back. I mean, like you have
probably
pieces.
A little bit more, especially out on the outside. You feel a little bit better about Newsome and Hartzog than you did going into the season. So there's a lot of things that you can work with. But just like any team, you know, there's some holes there. But then that's what you're, bringing in your assistant coaches for, to get guys that ready to play that didn't get to play last year. And so there's a ton of opportunity there. And I don't think they're done signing guys either. I don't think they're done. I think you'll see obviously more. I think you'll see more guys that they've had their eyes on in the transfer portal that have played before here moving forward.
Well, I got 3 guys coming in on visits this weekend alone. Yeah, 2 linemen and Virginia's leading receiver.
Right.
Should be huge.
Right. Yeah, you get all 3
linemen.
You get all 3.
And you get Nuri back. Let's not forget about that too.
Right. Well, I think the lineman that they're really focusing on is out on the edges. I think you got Scott. You feel good about that. Nuri needs to come back and be in best shape and have the edge to him.
Right.
Maybe feel pretty good about Turner, and then with Lutovsky and in there, wrote in even Ethan Piper. So you feel like you can work with it. We got to be able to protect the blinds. We can't, whether it's Casey, Jeff Sims, Logan Smothers, Jay Foreman, Nate Brennan, Austin 316. You cannot get hit on an average 20 times a game. I watched David Carr get sacked 82 times.
How do you stand back up time after time? Like that man was on the ground more than he was upright
all the time.
Those are the ones that are documented. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Those are the documented sacks.
The ones that go down as hits,
right?
And sacks.
Yeah, those are the ones where he went down to the ground. We ain't talking about the times I looked up there like, dang, that dude getting hit again. I told him one time after practice, I said, David, man, you a pain freak? What you into? He's like, what you mean? He's real big into his faith. He looking at me like, he's from Fresno. You know what I mean? And he married like when he probably was 18. And I love Melody or whatever. And his dad was great. I said, man, you a pain freak? What you into, dog? What's up with you in California? Just kind of breaking the ice. You know what I'm saying? He's like, what do you mean? First of all, he didn't say anything. Then he walked and he probably was like, man, this. He's just sitting there. So then he's like, what do you mean by that? I said, look, man, in this league, check down as your friend. Get that ball. I said, I cannot sit over here and watch you get hit like this no more, man.
Smoked.
And then I said, after the season, you walk your little butt up there and you tell that GM you better give me some linemen ASAP. Not Tony Baselli that didn't play a lick and was getting paid. Not Ryan Young that you picked up in the expansive drafts that had 2 bad knees. Draft some linemen. Now.
Yesterday. But now, if not yesterday.
Yeah. So
how'd that work out for him?
They got some. But the thing is, I'm gonna tell you, man, it's a lot like college. You get in there and you don't have the structure, not here, but just anywhere. You don't have the structure from head man, head coach, offensive coordinator, quarterback.
Effect, yeah.
They'll get you up out of there and then they blame you for everything. They talking about the offense was bad. Dude, the dude's he punch drunk already. 82 times?
Every single game, too. Every single
Block
game.
somebody. Hey, you know
Someone
what it
do
is?
something.
Nate, a philosopher that once said, if you're 300 pounds and he's 300 pounds, and if you block him for 3 seconds, you can get paid $30 million. Laramie Thompson's going to get about to get paid $30 million.
Yes.
So there ain't no excuses for you to be playing offensive line that you can't block somebody for 3 seconds.
Wasn't that the guy that wore the gas mask on draft day?
That's why I love him. I'm gonna go right in the locker room when we hitting it up.
Hey, what's going on here?
Hey, you know who the philosopher was? Michael Irvin.
Hey, nice. Well, that dude's crazy,
right? But he's serious. But he's right.
He is right.
So all you big fellas out there, if you can block somebody for 3 seconds, you can get paid $30 million a year. So all these offensive linemen that's over there like a turnstile, you need to stop it because it ain't that hard playing offensive line.
Something. Texter on the text line says Big 12 is the second worst conference. Willie says Big 12 arguably the best conference. No way. Hey, listen, you guys talk about the Big 10. TCU beat Michigan, and then everyone's talking about the SEC.
Well,
okay, you got Georgia.
But what else do they do? You got Bama. You got Bama.
You got Bama.
Yeah, you got Bama.
And then they're throwing out Pac-12 is better than the Big 12.
Then Mississippi State
USC,
won.
your best team, lost to Tulane. Get out of here with that. Give me the Big 12.
You got to go depth.
You know, give me the ACC. We're talking about depth.
See,
And we're talking about depth.
I'm going to pull over
ACC.
Sean. We got to go to break. Stop with this Virginia Tech stuff, man. I wanted to go one day without hearing about Virginia Tech. I even had on a note that I didn't send you. I wanted to ask you about your best Virginia Tech sport memory. That's gone. Gone.
Well, I'll probably still tell you.
I know you will.
We got to take a quick break. Shootout with Jay coming up next. Your chance to win $15. Buffalo Wings and Rings, 402-464-5685. We'll play next after this. You're listening on the block.